Welcome to 5225, 52 Weeks of Loving Movies, week 14. And this week's theme was Remembering Val Kilmer, honoring the films that I love or that I am seeing for the first time of one of my favorite film stars from my youth, Val Kilmer. This one was pretty hard for me because, as you probably know, and I'm sure you saw the card at the beginning of the episode, but Val Kilmer did pass away a couple weeks ago. And as a massive fan of Val Kilmer's as an actor, going back through some of his filmography was a little tough for me because Val Kilmer had a profound effect on just kind of my childhood and teenage years. I watched a lot of things starring Val Kilmer and a lot of things that I didn't get a chance to get around to watching, which I would have loved to have revisited, which I'll probably have to try to revisit soon. He was a constant presence in my home due to some of the movies that we're going to talk about today and some of the other ones. I didn't get around to watching Top Gun, but Top Gun, my mom loves Top Gun, so we watched it quite a lot. And Iceman was just so cool. Such a cool character. I actually do the bite still to this day because Val Kilmer did it. Iceman did it in Top Gun. And I don't know. There are so many great films out there starring Val Kilmer. So many not great films that I still love simply because I watched them all the time when I was younger, because I love Val Kilmer. So the watches on this one were a little bit tough for me, but I'm going to get through it, talk about some of these movies. I've had my emotional times with this, so hopefully we're going to get through this and we're going to have a lot of fun. I will say that this is late. I know this is late. We've had some things going on, personal family things going on this week and over the weekend and this week. And it's caused a little bit of a delay. With that said, I also am going to have to keep this pretty short, which, again, we can go back to countless videos I've said, I'm going to keep this short and then cut to minute 46 where I'm still talking about The Saint or something. Like, hopefully that's not how we're going to be. I know I say it so often, we keep this short, and then it ends up being really long. But this time, for real, I do have to keep it short because there's just so much going on right now. But with that being said, let's start with the first film that I watched from Val Kilmer's filmography, which is Tombstone, where he portrayed Doc Holliday. Now, if you've heard me ever talk about Tombstone or his performance in this, you will know that Val Kilmer's performance as Doc Holliday is my favorite performance of all time. It has not ever been matched. It simply is my favorite performance. And I know that he gets a lot of the best lines because he is sort of the comic relief in the film. So it is easy for that character to find that character entertaining and to gravitate toward him. But his performance in that is just so good. And it's not just the character, because we saw Dennis Quaid do it in Wyatt Earp the same year, the year after, something like that. Like, very quickly, those two movies kind of came out back to back, and it's just not the same. There is something about the performance that Val Kilmer gives as Doc Holliday that just puts it above, for me, everything, but just kind of above other portrayals of this character. I mean, because this is a character that's been portrayed a lot in film, but nothing has ever come close to what Val Kilmer did. And as I mentioned, he gets a lot of the great lines. And Tombstone is a family favorite of my family, not my current immediate family, my wife and kids, but my uncles, mom, just like all that side of my family, uh, love Tombstone. I remember when it came out. Uh, it was viewed in the theater multiple times by multiple family members. When it came out on VHS, we got it. We watched. We wore out the tape. Like we watched this movie a lot. So I don't know if this movie is insanely quotable or if I just know the movie so well that it's quotable. But I will say it's one of the most quotable movies ever made, in especially in my family or in my opinion. But Doc Holliday's lines, especially. I mean, everybody has a little bit of something. Uh, good lines. But Doc Holliday, especially with the I've got two guns, one for each of you. Because he's drunk. You're so drunk, you're seeing double. I've got two guns, one for each of you. That guy's like, and I can't do it. Obviously, I can't do it quite as well. I'm your Huckleberry. I could just go on for the rest for the rest of this video, quoting lines from Doc Holliday. But as far as the rewatch, I've seen this so many times that there wasn't much new to glean from it, except that I think for the first time I kind of analyzed it I tried to analyze it from a non-nostalgic place. And while I still love this movie and it rules, there is something about especially kind of where my the paradigm shift in my thinking that has happened since probably the last. No, I've seen it since then, but like since I've last like really given it a good thought about this movie, like analyzed it specifically, and the fact that the law enforcement, and I know this is the Old West, but the fact that the law enforcement can just go out and just murder all these people, and they are the heroes, does strike me today as that doesn't really set as well with me as it used to, or as it did for the world back in 1993 when it came out. But that does make me look at it a little bit differently, but not enough for me to have negative feelings about it really at all. This film will always be a part of me, and not just because of how it connects to my family, but because of Val Kilmer as Doc Holliday. He is a character, and it is a performance that will forever be with me. But I'm going to move on from Tombstone here to the next film I watched, which was Willow, where Val Kilmer portrayed Mad Mardigan. This one, my surrogate sister Michelle had suggested I watch this for my Val Kilmer thing, and of course I was always going to watch it. I used to watch this a lot when I was a kid. Warwick Davis is just so good in this film, and in general, he's a really great actor, and I'm glad that he has managed to carve out the career that he has been able to carve out. But Mad Mardigan is just so cool, and that's true of Doc Holliday, and honestly, that's true of most of the characters that Val Kilmer plays, because that is the essence of Val Kilmer. I think is just cool, and later in his career, he had to take some roles in some movies that were probably not as cool as he was in like the 80s and 90s, but he's just such a cool guy, and Mad Mardigan is really the embodiment of everything cool about Val Kilmer. I'm going to spend so little time on this one because this one I've seen so many times. I love it. If you haven't seen it, watch it, because it's just a really good time. And I love Val Kilmer in it. So I know that is such a short amount of time, but again, I have to keep it brief, and I already went longer on Tombstone than I had intended. So I am going to move on from Willow on to the next one, which might take longer than I want as well, because it is my favorite fictional character that he portrayed, which was Batman / Bruce Wayne in Batman Forever. And I said this on the preview of last week when I was previewing this episode. I had mentioned it that he was for a long time my favorite Batman, and this movie was my favorite Batman movie. He actually, and when I say favorite Batman, favorite live action Batman, Kevin Conroy will always be the best Batman. He will never be topped. And even if he ever is, I will never admit it. But the, my favorite live action Batman, my favorite live action Bruce Wayne, for a very long time, and he still remains like at the top there. I don't know. I'd have to give it a little think to really rank it, because like one of my favorite Batman performances is like Ben Affleck. I think he's really good in that role. I think that they, despite the reaction to his casting, he's so good, especially as Bruce Wayne. But I don't really care for the movies that he's in so much, and that is disappointing. And I don't care for the direction they take his character in those films. I'm just not a Snyder fan. I'm sorry for the Snyder boys, Snyder Cut people. I don't begrudge you loving all that in that version. It just isn't. It isn't for me. And as a person who loves Batman, as I mentioned, is my favorite fictional character. He is. The character means so much to me, and a lot of the things that mean the most to me just aren't present in the Snyder version. They actually aren't really present in the Burton movies either. And I've talked about this before, just not, I don't think on this channel. The Tim Burton Batman movies, I love, and I loved as a kid, but the more I got into the character of Batman, the less I recognized Batman in those movies, because he isn't the Batman that he should be. Batman's a genius. He doesn't murder, he doesn't kill, and because that's an important code for him. And you can say what you want about what he does do, and how there can be a philosophical argument about the ethics and morality surrounding what how he does operate. But the fact is, as a character, he does. It is important to him that he does not kill. And if you try to tell me about Dark Knight Rises or Dark Knight Returns, we can have a conversation about that, but reread it and notice how many times he doesn't kill people. And also that's like Elseworlds stuff. So I'm going to move on. So that version of Batman, who is pretty ruthless, who in the Burton movies, who is pretty ruthless, who's not very smart. Like that's a big thing. Is like he's not super smart, and those things kind of bug me. The thing that and this is the first Batman movie that kind of starts to get the character right. Unfortunately, then they move on to Batman and Robin, and they lose even that stuff. So it's Batman and Robin is a fun movie that I love to watch because it's a Batman movie, and it's got a lot of really fun cartoony stuff going on, but it's definitely not a good representation of the character of Batman. This was the first good representation of Batman. He's smart. There is one of the central plot lines is about whether or not Dick should kill Two-Face, and Batman walking him through that and kind of discouraging that act. So it is so this version of Batman is the first version that really felt right to me as a young man, and still to this day, it's one of the few that actually feels right. I mean, I think that Christian Bale's Batman feels mostly right, and Robert Pattinson's Batman feels right as well. Those two versions feel like they understand Batman in a way that Tim Burton and Zack Snyder don't necessarily understand Batman, and this one does as well. So I love this movie. Yes, Two-Face is a doofus in this movie, but I think that's brilliant. I think it fits with the tone of the film. Riddler is my favorite uh, comic book villain in general in the comics. So seeing him here, yes, he's different. He acts different. He's not exactly the same, but there are some things that are very much the same as the way Riddler acts in the comics. So it's a character that I love. I think Jim Carrey is kind of the right pick for it. I had always hoped that one day David Tennant would play the Riddler, but I think that ship has sailed because we already have a Riddler in this current Batman universe, and I just don't think it's ever going to happen for me. But back after Dark Knight, the Dark Knight came out, people were like speculating, like, oh, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's going to play Riddler, which I think would be fine as well. There was a bunch of speculation about who might play the Riddler, and then the Riddler didn't even show up in those movies. But I was always just like David Tennant. He's just like perfect. He's got the perfect look. He's got the perfect sensibilities for that character. I digress. I'm going to move on from that because I'm now talking about other Batman-y things. I love this movie. As a young man, when this came out, seeing Chris O'Donnell, who just seemed so cool at the time. Yeah, he's a little goofy now that I watch it. That version of Robin is goofy. But as a young man, like, that was just so awesome. Like, seeing that guy, he was so cool. Also, if you've never seen People's Joker, go watch it. This is the Vera Drew, who had directed that movie, realized she was trans while watching Batman Forever. So Vera Drew and I have a special relationship in that we both love this, even though we've never met, and she has no idea who I am. Yeah, so Batman Forever is very, very important to me and will always be important to me. And Val Kilmer as Batman will always have a very, very special place in my heart. Because this film has a special place in my heart. It is literally in my soul. Literally, I say literally as I'm talking about a soul. It is in my soul, and I will love it forever. All right, so I'm going to move on from this to a first-time watch, and I think this is going to shock a lot of people that this was a first-time watch for me. This next movie, because it seems like something I would have seen, and it is something I should have seen. In fact, I own it. I've owned it for a while. I just never got around to watching it. It's a director that I enjoy. It has people that I like in it. It's a Val Kilmer movie. Like, how could I have not watched one of the more famous Val Kilmer movies? But I hadn't, and this was my first time watch, and that movie is Heat. So yes, this was my first time watching Heat. And let me tell you, I didn't believe the hype. I knew it was probably pretty good, but I'm not really like an action person, despite the last three movies I just told you I loved are all pretty much action movies. But I don't love that kind of, like, the shoot 'em up type action movies are not really for me in general. But that doesn't mean that there aren't a lot that I really do love, because there are a lot that I really do love, and I don't know why, but I just expected that this movie wasn't really going to be for me, even though I do love Michael Mann. I've seen a lot of Michael Mann movies that I absolutely love. I just didn't think this movie was going to be for me. But I was doing this. I was like, I need something that I've never seen, which is, honestly, unless I want to go into his, the last 20 years of films from him, from from Val Kilmer, the straight to video type stuff. It was going to be hard for me to find anything that I kind of felt was worth watching that I hadn't already seen. And Heat is one. And I was like, okay, I just have to do this. And I didn't believe the hype, but I was very, very, very wrong. This movie is damn near a masterpiece. And who knows, it might be a masterpiece. Maybe when I watch it again, I will determine that it is a masterpiece. I mentioned before on this show that it's very, very difficult for me to label something a masterpiece, to give it that 5 stars. But this is so close, and it was so good. I did not expect to enjoy Heat nearly as much as I did. And it comes down to those 3 leads. Those 3 leads are just so damn good. That's Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, and Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer's great. He's kind of a supporting. He does do the supporting. The other 2 are the leads, like they are the focus points. But he's just his character arc and he's so cool in this movie. Again, cool is just going to be a common theme for these. He's just so cool. And those 2 leads, Robert De Niro and Al Pacino. Now, Al Pacino does some really great work. Some of his best instincts are at play in this, but also a lot of his worst instincts are at play in this. Like, if you could think of like the most stereotypical, like, lampooning of Al Pacino that you can think of, it's on display here. But he also has some of those like really low, quiet, like really good, more in the vein of his 70s work, which to me is just like peak Pacino. More in like his 70s stuff before, like Scent of a Woman and stuff like that. But then, after that, just he got really known for going loud and being big. He just does it sometimes at the weirdest moments, which is also entertaining. She had a great ass. I've heard that so many times in my life, and now I know what it comes from. I know why they say it, because it is it is weird how big and loud he gets at that moment, and he has a few of those, but a lot of it is really good. De Niro is like, it feels like he's in his prime here in this movie. He is so good. He is not giving into some of his worst instincts. Some of those, the thing, the way that you would parody a De Niro, he's not giving into any of those. He's just giving us like his best, like the De Niro that we all love, that we know and love. He's so good in this movie. There's a scene that I absolutely love, where Pacino and De Niro actually share the screen for a little bit. They don't have a lot of screen time together in this movie. I think that's a notable fact that a lot of people have mentioned before. But it is. There's a scene where they kind of sit and have coffee together, and it's just so good. And lesser actors might not have been able to sell this idea that they grew to respect each other and almost care about each other in that very short scene. But in this scene, they do say to each other, "Listen, I like you and I don't want to have to kill you, but if it comes down to you or the people, the innocent public, I will have to do it." And that whole scene was just so good. Movie's long. It's I think it's 3 hours, maybe 3:20, something like that. I don't remember. I also watched the Ultimate Director's Cut or whatever, because that's the version that I own. So it's long, but it breezes by. It keeps my attention. it's so well paced. If you've never seen Heat, I highly recommend watching it. If you think it's a movie that you're not going to like, I still recommend giving it a shot. But I'm going to move on from Heat. Didn't talk about Val Kilmer too much in that one because there's just so much going on in that movie. But I'm going to move on to a movie that kind of was a return for several people, like a return to form for several people involved in this movie, and that is a movie that I absolutely adore with all my heart, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, where Val Kilmer plays Gay Perry. This was kind of a return for Val Kilmer. This was a return for Robert Downey Jr., who had not played Iron Man yet and had just spent time in prison for drug stuff and had a lot of drug issues that were kind of halting his career and causing a lot of problems for him. And this was kind of his return. This was when he came. This is him coming back and saying, I'm here. I'm taking this seriously. I think that if he hadn't come back and done this and kind of reestablished himself, we wouldn't have him as Iron Man. And him as Iron Man is the reason the MCU works, really. Like, I don't mean works on a whole, but like, I don't think we'd have the MCU if Iron Man didn't work quite as well as it did. And it worked so well because Robert Downey Jr. was so perfect in that role. And I don't think we'd have that if it wasn't for Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. And then also returned for Shane Black, who I won't say really went away, but he hadn't had that Lethal Weapon success. That team, this combination of people came together and made Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. And I remember when I saw this for the first time, I saw it when it came out back in 2005. And I was absolutely blown away. It's whip smart. It's funny as hell. If you may have seen me talk about it before, but I love an unreliable narrator. The fact that he messes up so much while he's narrating and has to go back and retell part of the story. He's like, shit, I forgot about the robot. I made a huge, like, that kind of stuff. I love that kind of stuff. That little like wink at the audience, and it makes it feel very real and relatable. And I absolutely adore the narration. I adore this movie. I love everything about it. Because this movie feels like it was made directly for me. And I know that there's a lot of people who love this movie, and that makes me very happy. It just feels like it was tailor-made to make Matt, especially Matt in 2005, just really, really happy. I still quote this movie a lot too. That's a thing I apparently find about Val Kilmer movies, is that I quote them a lot, especially Val Kilmer stuff, because he is very, very funny in this movie. He gets a lot of the really good one-liners. If you look up the word idiot in the dictionary, do you know what you'll find? Robert Downey Jr. says, a picture of me. No, the definition of idiot, which you fucking are. The writing is just, it's almost perfect to me. It's so crisp and clean and funny, and I really, really, really love this movie. I could talk for so long about why I love this movie, but I'm not really going to get into it right now because, as I mentioned, I do need to make this short, and I have already spent way more time than I wanted to on some of these. I'm going to leave this. If you've never seen Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, just trust me. Go watch it. See how you feel. There are some elements that may not have aged quite as well. It was 2005, but trust me, it's funny, it's smart. It's a hell of a good time. Go watch Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. The last movie I'm going to talk about is probably not very good, but you couldn't convince me that it's not, because it's a movie that I watched so much when I was a kid, and when I was a teenager, I watched a lot then as well, and that is The Saint, where Val Kilmer plays Simon Templar. as well as many other aliases. We don't ever really know his real name in the thing because he just he's always in disguise. The Saint, if you've never seen it, is about a thief for hire, I guess you would call him, who is kind of a master of disguises, can infiltrate a lot of places. It's definitely, almost absolutely certainly the reason that I play a rogue in almost all of the tabletop RPGs, D&D, Pathfinder, all that stuff. I almost always play a rogue. And I kind of realized while rewatching it this time that it's almost definitely because of Simon Templar, because that's the kind of character that I always like to play, someone who's really, really skilled, and deceptive and deadly. Val Kilmer is so good in this movie because each one of the characters he played is very distinct, with really, really good accents. I mean, the makeup has a lot to do with it because there is always kind of, or not always, but there is sometimes some really good prosthetics involved in making him wigs and teeth and makeup and stuff to make him look like that. But he kind of becomes a different character with each one, which is, I think, why he plays Batman and Bruce Wayne so well, is because being able to play the same character as two different characters. He does that really, really well in The Saint as well. Except it's more than two characters, a lot of characters that he plays, but as one character playing those characters. It's a movie that did not do super. It's not critically acclaimed. As a kid, I didn't really ever understand that. I was just like, why? I don't understand why people say this is a bad movie. This is an awesome movie. It's so cool, and I love it. I can say today, I can see why people may not have dug it in the past. However, I expected to kind of come back to it and start feeling the same way, and I just don't. I still love this movie. If you've never seen it, I mean, give it a shot, see how you feel. I'm not going to go on about how everyone should watch it because I'm sure that it's not going to work for every person, but I love him in it. I also, I love Elizabeth Shue. Elizabeth Shue is someone I've always been in love with. Probably since Back to the Future Part 2 is probably the first time I saw her, or Adventures in Babysitting. I don't remember which I saw first. But Elizabeth Shue has just really been in my heart for a very, very long time. And I think she's incredible. I've often said that the wrong person won an Oscar for Leaving Las Vegas. I think that Nicolas Cage's performance is fine, but Elizabeth Shue carries the emotion of that movie so well. She's so good in that movie. I'm not here to talk about Leaving Las Vegas. I'm talking about, but I do want to just mention how much I love her as an actress. She's very good. She is relatable and believable all the time. In this, her character has a heart condition and sometimes gets overexcited, and when she is getting excited, like when she has to like speak in front of a lot of people, she takes deep breaths a lot while she's doing it because that is part of her condition. It's just she's so good in this movie. They're both very, very good. And if you haven't seen it, I would say give it a shot. It's not one that I'm going to absolutely recommend to everyone, but it is one that I love, always have, probably always will. And despite the flaws, and my wife and I were watching this together, and we were poking fun at some of it, which we do a lot. It's kind of when we watch movies together, we'll often just poke fun together at certain elements, and there were certain things in this that were easy to poke fun at, but we also were through a lot of it. We're just kind of, because we both grew up loving this movie, kind of wrapped, kind of just engaged and really enjoying it. So I'm going to leave The Saint there. it is. I don't know how many different ways I can say that I love it, and I don't care how anybody else feels, but that's just going to be the basis of my review here. I love it, and I don't care how anybody else feels. So we're gonna leave The Saint. The Saint, which by the way is based on a series of books. There's also a television. There's also several series, like British series, based on it. Sir Roger Moore, who was James Bond, was Simon Templar in the British series. So it does have a life outside of this movie. There is a lot of history to do with this character and this property, but to me, it's just always this. It's Val Kilmer is the Saint. I know they're rebooting it, they're redoing it, they're doing a remake or a reboot coming out, or they've been talking about it, and I'm all for that. And I hope that movie is awesome, and I hope I go watch it, and I hope I fall in love with it the way I fall in love with this one. But there's just never going to be a substitute in my mind for this, and that is all very, very subjective and nostalgia based. So take that for what it is. But let's move on to the preview for next week, which week 15, which is that week ends in April 20th. Which is actually this week, the week that you are watching this, maybe, unless you're watching it after this week, but the week that this is coming out, because again, this is late, but this week does end in 420. Funny drug number, which is why I chose this theme. And I'll just tell you, week 15, drug movies. In my late teens, early 20s, I went through a drug phase. And when I say drug phase, I mean I watched a lot of drug movies, and they scared me off from doing most drugs. And I'll kind of talk about it next week, why I've have never and will never try hard drugs. It's a lot of these movies. I've long said there are two types of drug movies. There are fun drug movies and there are scary drug movies. And I'm going to talk about both, and that's not to make light of any substance abuse issues or anything like that. I'm just going to kind of talk about some of the drug movies, especially because I went through this like phase where I just watched a bunch of them. But there's one that I've only seen some of that I'm going to watch, and it's definitely even if it's my only first time watch, it's going to be my first time watch. That's very famous, and it's going to probably be a surprise that I'd never seen it. But I'm going to watch it. But you'll have to tune in next week to find out what that is. But yeah, it's going to be drug movies, movies about drugs. What are some of your favorite drug movies? The fun kind and the scary kind. What do you think about the Val Kilmer movies that I watched? Tell me about your relationship to Val Kilmer and his filmography. Do you love him? I hope you do. I would very much like to not have to read a bunch of people saying, he's overrated or anything like that. So if you can avoid that, that would be awesome for me. Because again, he means a lot to me. But I do want to hear, how do you feel about Val Kilmer? What are some of your favorites? Talk to me in the comments. Bye.